Hi, my name is KHALEESA. Nice to meet you.
Hello, my name is Hannah Sophia.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Darnita and I'm 20 years old. I'm currently studying aviation, which focuses on the theoretical aspect like navigation, safety procedures, and aviation laws. Is really exciting because it's a field that requires a lot of focus and precision. My classmates are a mix of Malays, Chinese, and Indians, which I think is great because I get to learn about different cultures and perspectives. It is interesting to see how we communicate differently, but we still work well together.
That sounds amazing. So let's start with our first question, shall we? So, how do people in your culture usually talk to each other in daily life?
In Indian culture, the way we talk depends on lot on who we are speaking to. For example, when we speak to elders or people in authority, we are usually very respectful and polite. We use a softer tone and choose our words carefully because showing respect is very important in our culture. But when we are talking to friends or people our age, we are much more casual and the conversation can be lively and full of laughter. We also tend to use a mix of English and our native languages like Tamil or Hindi, depending on who we are speaking to.
Okay, so do people prefer being direct or indirect when sharing their thoughts?
I think it really depends on the situation. In our culture, people are often indirect when they want to avoid hurting someone's feeling or causing conflict, especially with family or elders. For example, if we disagree with an elder, we might express it in a very subtle way instead of being straightforward. But with close friends or peers, we can be more direct because we know they won't take it the wrong way.
Mm.
It's all about maintaining harmony and understanding the other person's feelings.
That makes sense. Now, about slang and humor. Do people in your culture use a lot of slang or jokes when talking?
Yes, slang and humor are a big part of our daily communications or conversations, especially among young people. We have a lot of slang words that we use casually, and sometimes we mix English with our native languages to create unique phrases. Humor is also very common and it's often based on wordplay, culture references, or even exaggeration. For example, when we are joking with friends, we might tease each other in a playful way, and it's all in good fun. Humor helps us bond and lighten the mood, but we're also careful not to joke about sensitive topics.
Okay, that's really nice. Can you give me an example of a slang word or joke that might confuse someone from another culture?
Sure, one slang word we use is chuma, which means just like that or for fun. It's very common among Tamil speakers and we use it in casual conversation all the time. For example, if someone asks, why did you do that? We might say, oh, chuma, meaning we did it
Mm.
for no particular reason. Someone from other culture might think it literally and wonder what we mean. We also have jokes that rely on cultural references, so if you are not familiar with the context, it might be hard to understand the humor.
That's a great example. Now, let's move on to social media. How has social media changed the way people talk in your culture?
Social media has had a huge impact on the way people communicate in my culture. It has made communication faster and more convenient, especially for young people like us. Now we can stay connected with friends and family no matter where they are. But it also changed the way we express ourselves. For example, people use a lot of emojis, abbreviations, and memes to communicate their feelings, which can sometimes replace words. Social media has also introduced us to global trends. So you'll see a mix of Indian culture and international influence in the way people talk online.
Okay, so do you think social media has made communication better or worse?
I think it's a mix of both. On one hand, social media has made it easier for people to stay in touch and share their thoughts instantly. It's also a great platform for learning about other cultures and perspectives. But on the other hand, it can sometimes lead to misunderstandings because messages are so short and informal. People might misinterpret the tone or meaning of a text. Also, some people rely too much on social media and don't spend enough time talking face to face, which can affect the depth of their relationships.
That's an interesting perspective, Darnita. Now let's talk about nonverbal communication. How important is body language, like eye contact or gestures, in your culture?
Body language is very important in Indian culture because it often conveys more than words. For example, making eye contact is seen as a sign of confidence and sincerity, but at the same time, staring for too long can be considered rude or intimidating. Gestures are also very meaningful. When we greet someone, especially elders, we might fold our hands in the namaste gestures
Mm,
instead of shaking hands, which shows
mm.
respect. Small gestures like nodding while someone is talking show that we're paying attention and engaged in the conversation.
All right. Are there any situations where people avoid eye contact or use gestures to show respect?
Yes, there are definitely situations where people avoid direct eye contact, especially when talking to elders or authority figures. It's a way of showing humility and respect. For example, if we are being scolded by a teacher or a parent, we might look down instead of making eye contact. Gestures like touching someone's feet as a sign of respect are also common in traditional settings, for example, in weddings. These nonverbal cues are deeply rooted in our cultures and help maintain harmony in relationships.
That's really insightful. Now, how do people in your culture solve problems when they disagree?
In Indian culture, people usually try to solve problems through discussion and compromise. If it's a small disagreement, we might talk it out directly with the person involved. But if it's a bigger issue, we often involve family members or elders to solve and help find a solution. Elders are respected for their wisdom, so their advice is usually taken seriously. The goal is to find a peaceful resolution that satisfies everyone, if it means making some sacrifices.
Oh, I understand. So are there any traditions or rules that help people fix problems peacefully?
Yes, one example is the concept of panchayat, which is like community council where disputes are resolved. It's common in rural areas, but the idea of bringing people together to discuss and solve problems is still very relevant. In families, there's also a tradition of having everyone sit together and talk openly about their concerns. This kind of open communication helps prevent conflicts from escalating and ensures that everyone feels heard.
That's a great approach. Now, finally, are there any special traditions in your culture that affect how people communicate?
Yes, there are many traditions that influence communication. For example, during festival like Deepavali, it's customary to visit family and friends to exchange greetings and gifts, usually on the second day of Deepavali. These visits are not just about celebration, they're also a way to strengthen relationships and show appreciation for each other. We also have traditions like family gatherings where everyone shares their thought and experience, which encourages open communication. This tradition reminds us of the importance of staying connected and understanding each other better.
Okay. So how do these traditions help people understand each other better?
Um, they help because they create opportunities for meaningful interactions. When we spend time with others during festivals or family gatherings, we get to know them on deeper level. It's not just about talking, it's also about observing and understanding their feelings, values, and also perspectives. This tradition teaches us to be more empathetic and respectful, which strengthens our relationships over time.
Thank you so much, Danita. This has been really interesting.
You're welcome. I enjoy sharing about my culture and I hope it helps with your assignment.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.